Hey there, so today I'm going to show you one of the easiest ways to sound awesome. And it's actually one of the oldest tricks in the book. And once you understand it, you're going to hear it everywhere. So today we're going to break down exactly how harmonized guitar works, right? And by the end of the video, you'll be able to take any simple melody and just make it sound absolutely massive. So, think about a lot of the most iconic guitar parts ever played. Everything from Thin Lizzy to all Chuck Berry's riffs, the Eagles, Lindsey Buckingham, or Chuck Berry. All Chuck Berry's kind of Tex-Mex style riffs. Bluesy CCR. Even like fast country licks. So all that stuff, it's all based around using harmonies. And here's the thing, is like a lot of those actual melodies are very simple, but when you harmonize it, it takes it to a whole another level because it adds all this harmonic interest and these overtones, and it just kind of thickens up the sound. So it's not magic, it's just music theory. So all we got to do is just take a look at how these work on the guitar. So let's break it down. So the first thing we've got to look at is scales, right? Think of a scale as a ladder of notes. And then the second thing you've got to think about is harmonies. And that's where you're kind of like stacking notes on top of each other. So when we talk about the harmonized guitar, we're talking about taking a scale and then playing the notes on top of each other like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the Mixolydian scale, because that's one of the best scales to get into for rock and blues. It's basically the scale that fits over dominant seventh chords, which is everything from the blues to that kind of sound, just basic rock riffs. Here's why it's so perfect for this style though. The Mixolydian scale is basically a major scale, but it's got one twist that gives it that kind of bluesy sound. So it's like a major scale with a little bit of a minor flavor mixed in. So whenever you learn something complex, what you want to do is break it down into chunks. And for scales, one of the best ways to break them down is to use what are called tetrachords, which is basically a fancy way of saying taking an octave and splitting it in half into two sets of 4 notes. So a scale is built from 2 tetrachords. If you take the Mixolydian scale, the first part of it is like this. So it's just exactly the same as the major scale. We're going to harmonize it in a minute, but start by just learning this is a cool way of playing it, right? So that's the first part. And then the second part goes like this. So it has a different sound there. It's got that minor interval. It's got the minor seventh in there. And you string those together and you get this. Now I'll show you why it's good to learn that in a minute, but just try. And then the second octave of that is going to be exactly the same. That's why we're kind of breaking it down into tetrachords, because it's the same exact pattern. And then, so put the two patterns together, you've got this. One of the interesting things about tetrachords, it's 8 notes instead of 7, because you begin and end on the root note. So, and then this next octave starts on the same note there. So it's the same exact thing, it's just a slightly different way of looking at it, but it's really helpful. Now what we're going to do is we're going to harmonize that in thirds. So the way we're going to do it is like this. I'll show you first and then you can try it. So that's a harmonized Mixolydian scale. I'll show you the second octave in a minute, but it's easy. I'm going to explain why, because there's 2 basic patterns when you're harmonizing using thirds. You've got a major third, which is played like this. It's 1 fret apart, all right? And then you've got a minor third, which is like this, which is when it's 2 frets apart, okay? So when you're playing this particular scale, it's really easy to remember because the pattern's going to be like this: major, minor, minor, major, all right? So major, minor, minor, major, and then the next pattern is going to be minor, minor, major, major. All right, so you've got to kind of memorize that little pattern. I'm going to show you some tricks to memorize that in a minute. And you can hear it even more clearly if you don't always have to play harmonies together. You can separate them as well to make some really interesting sounds. And of course, they're not exactly harmonies anymore, but it's still harmonic in terms of the way you're thinking about it. So there, I'm playing the scale in thirds. And that's one of the oldest tricks of creating a beautiful sounding pattern. Okay, so next octave, this is where it starts to get interesting, and this is really where you start to use it. So here's the pattern. So the harmonies are just going to go like this. Okay, so you got your major, and then you got your minor. Now, it's a little bit funny here because when you cross anything on the guitar on the G and B strings changes. Like there's this kind of little hiccup on the G and B strings where everything moves over one fret. So the minor shape on the G and B strings becomes the same as the major shape on all the other strings, like this. So this is the minor shape, and then the major shape becomes like this on the same fret. So you end up with minor, minor, major. So it's like this: major, minor, minor, major. And then you're going to go minor, minor, major, major. So the whole pattern goes like this. All right, so the whole thing's going to go. All right, so once you've got that, you can do all kinds of cool stuff with that. So you can create all kinds of cool licks. So let me show you a couple of ideas. So I'm going to play this in a song in a minute so you get the context. But one of the things I do in the song is take this little pattern here and turn that into a riff. So that's a great little thing. You can just take that little harmonized riff. It's kind of like when you go. Just doing the basic boogie. And then if you go up onto these strings here, you've got this. You know, a lot of this as well is like you can use these little patterns, like I showed you: major, minor, minor, major, minor, minor, major, major. Or you can play it here as well. But you can also just follow your ear with what sounds good. You know, when you're playing these harmonies, you know, it's either going to be major or minor. You can choose. So that doesn't sound right. So. You know, so your ear will tell you when it's right. But one of the things you can do with this technique is, as I said, kind of divide it up where you're not just playing the notes together, but you're separating them out like this. A couple different ways of doing this. One is to kind of chicken pick it. And all I'm doing there is I'm playing the ghost note. So that's a good little exercise, is you play a ghost note before each of the harmonized notes. And it gives you that kind of chicken picking sound. Percussive. Or you can spread it out like this, like for example. So all I'm doing there is toggling and adding that slide as well, where you, instead of just jumping, you slide up. It's a really, really cool sound. So you can have a lot of fun with this, but I'm going to play you a song right now just using a lot of this kind of stuff, and so kind of putting it in context for you. And it's the song Lay Down Sally, which we're going to actually put on the next record. So let's take it away.